chief.
Do you know whether Rome was punished afterwards for having buried you?
Whether Rome was punished or not, I was not aware of that.
Do you remember around what time this incident happened to you?
It happened at around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Would you be able to remember a month or a year when it happened?
At that time I was young and I could not recall the date or the year well.
Would you be able to remember the exact place, the exact place where this happened? Where was it? In which village or which cooperative? Do you remember?
When I was buried, I was at Ang Kyaw village. However, I cannot recall the commune or the district.
But do you remember the exact spot in this village where this happened?
It happened right at where the children unit was.
And where was that?
It was located in Ang Kyaw village.
I understood that from your previous answer, Madam Civil Party, but where exactly was it that this thing happened?
As I said, it happened in Ang Kyaw village, and when I was tied for the other arrest, it was at the Takoi Dam, or it's called Preikoi or Koi Forest, and that location was where the children unit also worked.
Let me try one last time, Madam Civil Party. I understand it happened in a village, but can you tell us where in the village exactly this happened? Was it close to a pagoda, close to something?
There was no pagoda near there. We were in a children's unit near Takoi, and that's where the event took place.
Very well, Madam Civil Party. I have some last questions. You said yesterday that you were not allowed to attend school. Can you tell us who said that to you, that you were not allowed to go to school?
When I said that I didn't go to school, nobody told us that we could not go to school. And yesterday I said that I did not have the opportunity to go to school.
But who was it, if you remember, that told you that you would not be allowed to go to school?
Nobody told me that. When I thought about what happened, I knew that I didn't have a chance to go to school.
Madam Civil Party, we heard witnesses and we have evidence in the case file that children were able to go to school, attend classes, learn mathematics, language, etc. So I'm trying to understand why you didn't go to school between 1975 and 79.
President, Madam Witness, please, Madam Civil Party, please wait, and the co-prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. President. Good morning to your honors. It appears that when the defense lawyer is saying that the children were allowed to go to school, that it is a bit exaggerated in relation to what we have heard during these hearings previously. We never really spoke about schools. We said that at times lessons were given in villages, so there were no real schools. So maybe the question should be reformulated in a more cautious way. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may reply, I believe we have the testimony of Tassan. We have on the case file education folders or books. So I believe it would be correct to say that there was indeed an effort, a substantial effort being made to educate children. Not always in school buildings, that is correct, but that is probably because of the war, the civil war before. But I think I can fairly state that there was education, primary and secondary education going on. So I think I should be able to ask this question to the civil party.
President, you may proceed, Judge Claudia Fentz.
At this stage of the proceedings, any conclusions as to whether there was a school system and to what extent is certainly premature, but questions as to whether she went to school or not are allowed. So we suggest you go ahead with the questions without summing up your understanding of the previous evidence.
The summing up was only in reaction, Judge Fentz, to the objection. Madam Civil Party, you said yesterday that you weren't allowed to go to school, and then I asked you the question, who told you that you couldn't go to school? I'm not sure if you answered that question. You were able to think a bit about it some more. Who told you? Do you remember that you weren't allowed to go to school?
Answer. Yesterday I said that I could not go to school. No one told me that I could not go to school. At that time, there were no school. I did not know that there were any school. What I did was working.
Do you know of any children who did go to school at the time?
Answer. I did not see any children go to school. But the children in the same unit as mine, they were working. They were going to collect the cow dung.
Another subject, and I think that's my last subject, Madam Civil Party. I think you said yesterday that you worked at night time. What do you mean with when you said that you worked at night time?
Answer. Yesterday, I did not say I was working at night. I was working during the daytime, and at night time we changed the units.
I apologize, Madam Civil Party, then I understood your answer wrongly. Thank you very much.
President, thank you very much. I now give the floor to the defense team for Mr. Kyo Sampon. Council, thank you very much, Mr. President. Madam Civil Party, I have several questions for clarification. My first question is that what is your father's name? Answer. My father's name is Mom Pro. Council, thank you. In the victim information form, you wrote that your father's name is Chao Pro. So the name Chao Pros is not a rice. Is that correct? Answer. My father's name, I put my father's name as Chao Pro because at that time my father lived in the lower part of the country, and my mother lived in the upper part of the country, and at the current time my father's name was referred to as Mom Pro. Council, what is your mother's name? Answer. My mother's old name was Niang Yuan, but now her name is Oh Yuan. Council, thank you. In your victim information form, you stated that you are Khmer Cambodia Crown. Did you have this nationality before? Answer. I asked my parents in the past that where I was born, and I was told that I was born in Cambodia Crown. Council. Do you know your birthplace in Cambodia Crown? Answer. I know my birthplace. Counsel, could you please answer to my question? What is your birthplace?
ចា នាង
Answer. I was born in Rolang village, Châu Lang commune, Svai Tong district, and Yang province. Counsel, thank you. Oh, what about your ID card? That is D22/2261. The year on is 001-034-18 to 19. I would like to clarify the document number again. That is D22/2161. In this document, there is an ID card of Madame Iem Jane. In the ID card itself, it states that the birthplace of Madame Civil Party is in Saum Commune, Kiriwong District, Takao Province. What could you say about the inconsistency in relation to your birthplace? Answer. I stated earlier that before I said I was born in Khmer Krom, and nowadays I am living in the upper part of the country. That is why I am using the current address. Counsel, do you understand the meaning of the birthplace? Actually, you could not have two different birthplaces. So how could you say about this? Answer. My original birthplace was in Cambodia Crown, and I am now living in the current address. That is why I am using it as my birthplace. Counsel, did you decide to use the current address as your birthplace by yourself, or what prompted you to do so? Answer. From my thinking, I am now living in the upper part of the country, and since we are living here already, we need to use the address in the upper part of the country. Counsel, I would like to ask another question in relation to the time after 1975. So where did you live after the 17th April 1975? Answer. After 1975, I lived in Tropang Thom village. In 1975, I lived in Tropang Thom Kangchung village. Counsel, did you ever live in Vietnam in 1975? Answer. In 1975, I was not living in Vietnam. I was living in Tropang Thom Kangchung village. So how long were you living in that above mentioned village? Answer. I was living in Tropang Thom village I moved from places to places until the liberation in 1979. Council, I would like to read your statement from document E3 / 4930. And in Khmer is 0057 91 11. English ERN is 0092 31 53. I quote, in mid-1976, when the Khmer Rouge had the exchange program to exchange Khmer with Vietnamese, my family of 6 members and hundreds other Khmer families in Cambodia were arrested and sent to Phnom Penh. Unquote. Do you recall that you gave this statement? Answer. I actually gave a statement, but I do not recall well about the exchange program. Council, the problem here is that did you ever live in Vietnam in the period of 1975 and 1976, or did you not ever live in Vietnam? You stated earlier that you have never lived in Vietnam. Does this mean that the statement you gave earlier is not correct? Is that true? Civil party, I do not get your question. Council, the problem here is there are 2 different statements about the period of 1975 and 1976. You stated here earlier that you were living in Tropang Thom Khang Cheung village, and there was another statement saying that you were in Vietnam in that period. I would like to know which statement is correct. You testified earlier before the chamber that in 1975 you were living in Cambodia, not in Vietnam. Could you clarify this for the court? Which statement is correct? Answer. I would like to tell the court that in 1975 I was not living in Vietnam. It was my mistake. I was actually living in the Tropang Thom Khang Cheung village at that time. Council, thank you very much. In relation to another point, I heard you mentioned Ta Quy Dam. However, in the information in your statement, document the 22/2161 at EON Khmer EON 00546430, English EON is at 01069536. In that document you stated that, quote, in 1978 they transferred me to live in Tasoi Dam until the Liberation Day. I would like to seek your clarification whether it is Takoi Dam or Tasoi Dam. Answer. At that time, I was at Tasoi Dam. It was also called Takoi. I did not know the exact name of that place, but I heard people call it Tasoi Dam. That is why I call it Tasoi Dam. Counsel, could you tell the court whether the two names were used at that time or only one name was used at that time? Answer. People mostly refer it as the Tasoi Dam. Counsel. Thank you. In relation to the workers in your units, you stated yesterday that you were in a mobile unit. Could you clarify for the court whether you were in a mobile unit or were you in a children's unit? Because in the document I quoted earlier, you said that you were in a children's unit. So could you clarify for the court whether you were in a mobile unit or you were in a children's unit? Answer. I would like to clarify for the court that concerning the mobile units and children units, they were different units. As for my children units, we were forced to work as those who were in the mobile units. Counsel, you mentioned a person by the name Ron, and you said that he was the unit chief. Were you ever transferred from one unit to another unit? Answer. I was transferred into a different unit, but I was supervised by the same unit chief, and the units were in the same village or in villages close by. Counsel, thank you. Did you know a person by the name Chao Ni? I know a person named Chao Ni. When did you get to know this individual? Answer. I do not recall when I got to know this individual. I do not know. I am illiterate. Counsel, do you recall that you had any contact or relation with Chao Ni at the time that you filed the victim information form? Answer. I contacted this individual. Counsel, could you explain for the court what did Chao Ni assist you in filing and filling up filling in this victim information form. President, please wait, Madam Civil Party. You may now proceed, lead co-lawyer.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we're really going beyond the scope of the suffering, and we're also beyond the speech time. So, of course, there might be an obsession on the defense's side on Chow Moni. I have no problems with the questions, but in such a repetitive way, I think that becomes an issue.
Council, Mr. President, I mentioned the person by the name Chow Ni many times because this individual has any relation with those who have been living in Cambodia Crown, and I am doubtful why there is Chow Ni's name in almost every victim information form. This is a big serious question for us, and it is doubtful whether the court is believing in the information which was assisted by Chow Ni to fill in. And as we can see, there is the name Chow Ni in almost every document of a victim information form. That is why I raised this matter before Your Honor. You may now proceed, Mr. Kope, said President.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to intervene in this discussion. I might be mistaken, and I stand corrected if I'm wrong, but it seems the third time that we're having a civil party here claiming to be a Khmer Krom, but in fact is born in Kampuchea, or in Cambodia. Now, I realize it's too early to make any even preliminary conclusions, but it seems odd that the civil parties who are claiming in their applications to be Khmer Krom are in fact not Khmer Krom at all. So I think maybe it is appropriate if the Chamber requests the civil party lawyers as to what's going on here.
Monsieur le Président, si vous me permettez.
Mr. President, may I please add to this? Simply to answer my colleague's objection, it's true. I came across something similar where I saw the name Chow Ni several times, and when we confront the victim information forms with the testimonies, there are differences with regard to the fact of being Khmer Krom or not, but I don't think that this line of questioning makes us lose time. I think this is part of the elements that will be necessary to the probative value of the civil party's testimony. So maybe we spend a bit of time on this, but it's because this name is on the documents that have been provided to us repeatedly.
En complément.
To add to this, Mr. President, it's a fact that the name Chow Ni appears indeed on many victims' information forms. That's a fact, of course, and that is not hidden because he was referred to as a witness when these forms were filed with the co-investigating judges. So it's on the basis of these identity documents and on the basis of these identity forms that the co-investigating judges decided on whether or not the civil parties would be admitted. These decisions were made at the end of 2010. The defense back then could have appealed each one of the admissibility decisions. So now if the chamber believes that it's relevant to put questions about Chow Ni and about the information in the documents that we're presenting to support the civil parties' testimonies, I have no problems with that, Mr. President.
Avec l'autorisation.
With your leave, Mr. President, a little point of clarification. The question is not whether we challenge the admissibility. We have documents from back then. We had not yet heard the civil parties. When the civil parties come to the court, they give different information from what is in the documents that we had and which we received during the investigation. So in any case, it's only during the hearing today that we see these discrepancies, and therefore it's only during the hearings that we can put these kinds of questions. So please do not criticize us for not having done what we should have done, which we could not have done at the time of the investigation in any case.
President Judge Lavenge, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Maybe to clarify things a bit, Councillor Giraud, could you please tell the Chamber what is Chowne's exact role with regard to the civil parties when they file their applications? I cannot tell you right now, since I have just arrived in this courtroom. I do not know Mr. Chowne. Of course, I can inform myself and provide that information to the Chamber, maybe this afternoon, if I can find that information. But I have no problems in terms of the principle, that is to say, to inform the Chamber about the role that Chowne, as well as the intermediate organizations in the civil party applications, because most civil party applications were possible thanks to intermediary organizations, that is to say NGOs, that assisted the victims when they applied to become civil parties. So there is nothing surprising to see a name come up in a systematic way, as well as the names of NGOs, because at the time the court did not have enough funds to guarantee outreach. So the NGOs took charge of this, that is to say, to go meet the civil parties so that the civil parties can join. If the Chamber wishes me to be more specific about the different intermediary organizations and the different people within these organizations that played a role in the gathering of the information for the civil party applications, of course, I accept to do so, and I might even do so this afternoon if I have the elements in hand. Otherwise, I can do so tomorrow. Unless I'm mistaken, Mr. Chowne already came to testify, and he testified as a civil party, and unless I'm mistaken, he is an active member of an organization defending the interests of Khmer Krom. And I just wanted this information to be confirmed.
Étant précisé que je...
Since I believe, also I'd like to specify that all of these elements are on the case file and are perfectly accessible to the parties. But it should be clear, we never challenged Mr. Chow Ni's position as the civil party. That has to be clear in the record.
President Defense Counsel, you may continue. Counsel, Madam Civil Party, before we were intervened, my last question to you was about the assistance provided to you in filling out your victim information form by Chow Ni. My question to you is that did Chow Ni provide you with assistance or provide you any consultation in the preparation of the victim information form for you to apply as a civil party in this case? Answer. Chow Ni and I met, and he did not give me anything except he gave me some guidance on how to apply it as a civil party. And as I wanted to lodge my complaint, then I proceeded with my application as I suffered from what happened. Counsel, thank you. Actually, who actually went to look out for you or went to see you? Was Chow Ni by himself in seeking you out, or was somebody else? Answer. There was no one else. I simply met him. Counsel, my question to you is that how did you initiate your contact with Chow Ni in the preparation for your application? Answer. Mr. Chow Ni gave me some guidance on how to apply it as a civil party due to the suffering I received. So after he told me that, I told him that I wanted to apply it as a civil party. Question. In relation to the information that you provided in the victim information form, did you provide that information by yourself, or was it somehow assisted by Chow Ni? Answer. I don't really get your question well, but what I recall is that he asked me whether I suffered from the Khmer Rouge regime. But could you, Counsel, could you please refresh your question? Counsel, my question to you is the following. Regarding the information contained in your victim information form, did you provide that information, or did you give any advice from Chow Ni before you were able to provide information in that victim information form? Answer. The information contained within that form was produced by myself after I tried to recall what happened. Question. Can you explain to the chamber why there are discrepancies from what contained in the form and from what you are testifying before this chamber? answer. As I said, I cannot recall well. I cannot recall all the information that I put onto the form. Question: were you given any advice by anybody else besides Mr. Chao Ni? Answer: no, there was nobody else. I only met Chao Ni. When he told me about making my application. Council, thank you. And Mr. President, I don't have any further questions. President, Madam Im Jane, the Chamber is grateful for your presence and for a statement of suffering and harms inflicted upon you during the Democratic Cambodia regime. And your testimony is now concluded, and you may be excused from the courtroom and go to wherever you wish to go. And court officer, in collaboration with WISU, please make necessary transportation for Madam Im Jane to return to wherever she wishes to go, or to go to her residence. And the Chamber is also grateful of TPO staff. It is now convenient to take a short break, and we'll resume at 10:30 when we will hear the statement of suffering and harms of another civil party, that is through TCCP 288. And the lead co-lawyers for civil parties, Joanne started to provide precise information to the Chamber regarding Mr. Chao Ni and the civil parties. The court is now in recess.